Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. The topic of this 10-minute moan is the latest update on Michael Matheson after his £11,000 expenses scandal for his mobile phone while he was on holiday. That Michael Matheson that seems to have disappeared. So the story is an exclusive taken from the Daily Record. Paul Hutchin led with the story. And the headline is Michael Matheson faces suspension over £11,000 expenses scandal after Holyrood watchdog backs sanction. The Holyrood Standards Committee is likely to recommend a ban of more than 10 days for the veteran SNP MSP. Now, they will go on and talk about the differences here between Westminster and Holyrood. One very important aspect of the rules that ministers have to undertake in Westminster, which they don't have in Holyrood. All right. The Holyrood watchdog has backed a suspension for disgraced SNP MSP Michael Matheson over the £11,000 data roaming scandal. A source predicted a ban of more than 10 days, which at Westminster could see him sacked by voters. The insider said it would be outrageous if Matheson was suspended and he clung on to office. Excuse me. He should do the decent thing and stand down and force a by-election. Matheson quit as Health Secretary in February over the massive bill he racked up on an iPad during a family holiday to Morocco. He initially pleaded ignorance and was content for the taxpayers to foot the bill for data roaming. But after facing sustained questions, he admitted his children had used the device to stream football. Holyrood bosses found Matheson guilty of breaching MSP Code of Conduct, including on expenses rules. The Parliament Cross-Party Standards Committee will tomorrow announce its recommended punishment. The Record can reveal suspension will be the sanction, but MSPs were divided on whether it should be longer than 10 days. It's understood Matheson supporters were hopeful of a 5-day suspension. Voters can recall errant MPs if they are suspended for at least 10 sitting days, but no such power exists for the public at Holyrood. A Holyrood source said there was a view on committee that the optics would be bad if a 10-day plus sanction was applied and Matheson stayed on as an MSP. You're no kidding. The optics will look bad if the guy stays in his job, regardless of how long he's banned for. But the source said they anticipated a ban from Parliament of more than 10 days. Matheson was quizzed by members of the committee this month, and the recommendations will go to full Parliament for a vote. The decision will inevitably fuel calls for Matheson, an MSP since 1999, to stand down from Holyrood voluntarily. Asked in March if he would quit, he said no, adding, "As you know, there's a standards process at the moment, and I'm going to respect the confidentiality of that process. Suspension will also likely accelerate demands for Holyrood recall law." Scottish Labour leader Anis Sarwar supports recall petitions for Holyrood, while Tory MSP Graham Simpson backs plans to remove MSPs who fail to carry out their duties. Lib Dem Willie Rennie also previously called for recall law under SNP MSP and domestic abuser Bill Walker initially tried to hold on to office. Disgraced former SNP MP Margaret Ferrier was sacked by voters after receiving 30-day suspension from the Commons. In his apology to MSPs this year, Matheson said, "Mistakes have been made by me, by my family, and mistakes have been made in the way I handled this. I should have sorted the SIM card and I should have investigated what happened more thoroughly." That'll be when he's seen a bill for £11,000. "I accept that, take full responsibility and apologise unreservedly. This is why costs have been fully reimbursed to Parliament." Superb. He paid it back. He paid it back only after he got caught, right? If this guy had, as much scruples as he's trying to suggest to us he has, the bill wouldn't have been paid for by Holyrood in the first place. Then we had all the carry on where he told lies. Then he suggested that he only told lies to cover up his family by throwing his family under a bus at that point. The man's despicable. Anyway, and imagine even saying that in the apology that he put out. I made mistakes, and so did my family. What's that man points a finger of blame at his child in public like that? Despicable. Anyway, previous sanctions for MSPs included a 5-day suspension for Tory Annie Wells over a breach of parliamentary code of conduct and a month's ban for SNP MSP Mark MacDonald, including having his salary withdrawn. Oof. Imagine taking the money off these people, that'd be terrible. Now, here's a couple of bits of takes on it. Out of all the comments there by other parties, every one of them is for this recall order, which can happen in Westminster. I've never heard the SNP claim that. And I know they've got and had more MSPs than most other people in the building for a while, but there's still a mad proportion of their MSPs that do dodgy things, right? So, it's any wonder. So, just to clarify for those who maybe are thinking, what is he talking about recall and all that? At Westminster, as Margaret Ferrier found out, if you're suspended for 10 days, for more than 10 days, the people in your constituency have a right for recall, where I think it's 2,000. If 2,000 or more constituents ask for a by-election, you have to stand in front of them again for election as their Member of Parliament. We do not have the same rule in Scotland, which is a bit bizarre. But that's where we're at, and there have been calls already by the opposition parties to have such a law in Scotland. And can you imagine? I don't think Matheson would survive the next election anyway, but that could give him another 2 years and another £140,000 in wages, because we don't have a recall in Scotland. But surely, we must be at a point where the SNP are trying to claim they're new, they're transparent, they're all this stuff. And now you get a great opportunity to prove it. Get him to stand down. Even let him take the glory for standing down. Get the party, you beat it, right? You can't be here anymore. You're going to need to stand in front of a vote to get back in here, right? Do that, tell him. But he can even spin it as, I'm going to do the morally correct thing and let the constituents decide if I should be their MSP or not. That's what normal people would do. But as we've seen in repeated occasions, this SNP are not normal. And this Matheson is at least normal. No, he's not actually the least normal. There's actually worse than him. He's just been caught, right? And that's the thing that gets me. We were all meant to feel sorry for him. And Humza, when he was your leader, was telling us he's a good guy. You know, we'll not be sacking him because he's a good guy. Is he? Stole £11,000 from the public purse. Tried to hide it. Tried to cover up. When he got caught, blamed his children. That ain't the work of a good guy. That's the work of a rat. And that place is infested by them. And we, the good Scottish public, need to do something about that. We need to get rid of them. And in the next 2 votes at Westminster and Holyrood, vote them out. I will be tactically voting. And I understand that's difficult for some people. But I hope people consider doing that in the next elections. And we wipe them out of not only the parliaments in Westminster and Holyrood, but we could wipe them off the face of the earth, because they could end up bankrupt. Elections cost about £1 million to campaign. I think they've spent more than £1 million at the last 5 or 6 elections. They don't have £1 million to spend. Now they could go out there and raise, shake the tins and try and get money to give them enough for an election kitty. I understand that. But what happens after that? Because they take a ministerial levy off, a parliamentary levy off their MSPs and their MPs, which is basically money off their wages. And they also get paid by Westminster money called short money, which is paid by the UK government to the parties, dependent on the amount of MPs they've got. So if we can cut the amount of MPs and cut the amount of MSPs, do you know what? This gang that don't really attract much in donations have their income decimated. So, could be a win-win, because we could get rid of them out of power, and we could get rid of them by bankrupting them. Imagine that. Then we don't need to put up with nonsense like this. And I mean, I think the other day, 2 days ago, I done a wee video because I've now been doing these videos for 6 months, right? And I thought, many stories have I actually been putting out in those 6 months? And I compiled a list, and I put it to video. And all I done was read out the list of scandals that I'd covered. The video took about 12 minutes. There was 4 pages there. Now, I'm not saying you put another party in, or they'll be, whiter than white. There won't be. Politicians are inherently like this. Not all of them, granted, but and the SNP just seem to have a bigger ratio of cranks than the rest of them. Because there are people, and that's not just politicians, there's people in society that will, try and bend rules. That's the way they try and operate. So there are, people do that in every party. The SNP just seem to be this endless, inconsistent run of them. And I tell you what else is bad. The reaction from the party when these things happen. Going back and look at what Humza, who was the leader, was saying at the time of this scandal hit. Oh, Michael's a good guy. Michael's a good guy. Michael's a man, a good man. No, he isn't. Michael's a skank. Michael's a thieving skank. And I have no mercy for people who want to just apologise once they've been caught. Yes, we should forgive. It doesn't mean we forget. The man has to go, because he's not very good. Okay? If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not already subscribed, please consider doing so. But most importantly of all, that's your Michael Matheson, his SNP cult, and all the people that try to help cover up and apologise for him. Everybody else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.